Hey y'all, it's your girl Barbie J here. Welcome to my channel, June BLC. Hey there everybody, it's your girl Barbie J here with the late recap and review of Tyler Perry's drama, Sisters, Season 9, Episode 3, Having Faith. And I'm telling y'all right now, this episode was a tearjerker. It had Barbie J boo-hooing and crying like crazy. And I got to tell you, the cast have gotten better with their crying. I don't know if y'all remember that scene. I don't know, what was that, season 6 or something like that? When, maybe 5, when Karen salon was on fire and they thought she had died, and the fake crying and you didn't see no water or tears coming out. But now this episode, well, Zach always been great at it. He's gotten so great at that. He was the only one who knew how to cry, right? But now I saw tears coming out of Andy's face and Sabrina's face and Danny. I'm just like, wow, they have gotten so much better with the real tears. They must have had to go through training for that. But anyway, I just want to give credit to the progression, the growth in their acting skills. I guess I could say Karen was always good at it. So I don't even put her in it. Karen was the best out of all of them with the tears and acting because we've seen her in other movies and everything else when she's done it. So anyway, this episode starts over with Andy and Sabrina. They're in Karen's hospital room when, her blood pressure drops and she goes unconscious. The machines start ringing and then they yell for help and Dr. Vaughn comes in and he's talking about code blue and that they need to do an emergency C-section on Karen before they lose her and the other baby. And so they go out the room and they tell Danny and Fatima, who are in the hallway, what's going on. Then we see Miss Lisa walk up just as the nurse is asking who's the next of kin and asking, do Karen have a DNR, do not resuscitate. And Miss Lisa starts to freak out as Fatima runs to go and find Zach and let him know what's going on. And Andy goes to find Dr. Cruz. And once she finds him, she tells him about himself and basically tells him he's incompetent or he's a terrible doctor and that she's going to sue him. He still don't care. He's like, he got 20 years of practice and, she need to worry about her friend and not him or whatever. Y'all got what y'all wanted. Y'all got Dr. Vaughn. Leave me alone. And in the meanwhile, we have Danny and Sabrina in the waiting room and they're talking and they start telling about what's going on with them. Danny tells about Tony and having to go to Alaska if he want to keep his job and that she's not going there. She don't like the cold. And Sabrina spills the tea about finding Rich having sex with Penelope. And Danny's like, what? She's like, oh, Penelope trying to take us off one by one. She's like, she's slapping Andy. She's doing this to you. She's going down the line. So then Rich calls Sabrina's phone and Sabrina doesn't want to answer. And then he calls again and Danny picks up and she goes in on him. And he's getting mad. I want to talk to Sabrina. Let me talk to Sabrina, explain. She's like, Danny. Danny gave him a hard way to go. And then she hung up on him and blocked him. But she had gotten so loud in the waiting room that when she finished and turned around, people were looking at them. And Sabrina was embarrassed and slid down in the chair to try to hide herself. Then we have Fatima. She finds Zach, and Zach is like trying to get dressed and putting on the hospital greens and stuff. And she said, I guess they told you what's going on. And he's trying to get ready and he's nervous and everything like that. She leaves him. He gets together with Aaron. They're talking because she said Aaron wasn't looking good. Aaron is freaking out himself. He the pastor. Zach's like, you a pastor, right? Don't you think we should pray now? And he was like, yeah, good idea. But he can't even get a prayer out. He's so tore up and distraught. And I was like, we ain't never seen this man say or heard him say a prayer. Not a one prayer. Not even blessing food. What is going on that he can't even say a prayer now in the time of need? So Zach was like, he said, I can't do it. I can't do it. Zach said, you can't hang up on God like that. I was dying. I thought that was funny. He said, you can't hang up on God like that. He said, God, no, he didn't mean that. I'm back. We back. And so Zach started trying to do a prayer about protection and everything for Karen. And it was really a nice prayer for somebody who doesn't go to church and doesn't pray a lot. He sure had a really good prayer. And here's Aaron. Thanks for that. He couldn't do it. So then at that moment, Miss Lisa come around when they finished praying and she said, Zach, that was a good prayer. And then they was all hugging and Aaron's like, but I thought only two of us could go there. Miss Lisa told them, with all the chaos that's going on around here, if you don't want no more chaos, you gonna let me up in that room. It'll be in their best interest to let her in there, So they let her in. I was like, I hear you, Miss Lisa. You gave birth to her. You want to be in there and make sure everything going right. She thanked Aaron and Zach for being there for Karen. But I got to tell you, I really loved that scene between Zach and Fatima. That was really touching, how understanding she was. She said, I know you love Karen. Don't worry. I got you. He's like, thanks for being understanding. And then she tells him what she loves about him is that he always tends to bounce back from whatever happens. And he's like, I thought you loved me because I'm fine and because I keep you screaming. She was like that too. But I was like, she said, but seriously, Karen needs you to be strong for her. I need you. The girls need you. We all need you to be strong. And Zach had those tears in his eyes. I'm telling y'all, he was working that scene. I'm all teared up when I saw it. You know what I mean? But then Fatima ended with, now, Zach, when you go in there, stay out of the doctor's ways because you know how you get. He started laughing. Because he probably think, oh, no, don't do that. People get involved like they know what they doing and say it. But that was really a heartwarming scene between them, and I loved it. Now, one scene I didn't like is when Andy and Fatima came over to the waiting room where Danny and Sabrina was and asking, did anybody hear anything? And then Danny asked a simple question like, did they hear which twin is in danger? And Andy and her little bougie self talking about that was very insensitive thing to say and inappropriate. Like she's saying it in front of somebody. And she's like, per usual. I said, no, it was not. It was a simple question and it was a valid question to ask at this moment. So that one thing I didn't like. What about y'all? Put it down in the comment section how you felt about that. And so the sisters thanked Fatima for being there for Karen and all she did for her. And Fatima was saying how, we didn't always get along well, as you all know. She said, but I guess we grew through the mess. And here's Danny. Well, they say shit is the best fertilizer. She said she grew through mess. The mess is being shit if y'all didn't get it. So I thought that was a cute line that they put in there. So then they talked a little bit more about Karen. And they said, well, they got to have nieces because, Sabrina keeps saying niece, even though they like think positive. That's what Danny was like, let's be positive about it. And Fatima told them that the babies would have good example role models in these three women. And I kind of chuckled to myself like, really? I'm sorry. Really? If they all going to get therapy first, then I could go with that. But them women need therapy before they can be role models for people. They a little messy themselves. So after they hug it out, Miss Lisa come in there and say, girls, and she just looks at them. And they're like, what? What's wrong? And she's just looking at them. And it goes to commercial. I'm like, what the what? And when it comes back, they have Zach going in there kicking chairs and Fatima finding him. And he's in there crying. I mean, he crying, snot running out the nose, all of that stuff. See, he's able to use his experience with having his kids because I believe his wife at one time had a problem with one of their childbirths. So he could use that to get him into the character that he needs to be for a situation like that, which is wonderful. And he was crying and Fatima kept asking, what's wrong? What's wrong? And basically he was trying to say that it was his baby that died, that passed. And he was like, why did God do this to me? I had her in my hands. Why did it have to be like this? Why did I have to see it like this? But at first you still don't know. You still think it's Karen. You don't know that it's the child because he never says his baby really. But he did say something about in his hands. I think he did. Then it goes to Sabrina and Danny in the waiting room by themselves. I don't know where Andy went. And Danny's like, I'm never having kids. You go to the appointments, you have all the technology, and still look how stuff turns out, And Sabrina's trying to talk her out of feeling that way. Don't think about that now. And while she's crying and she turns around, she sees Dr. Cruz, and she tells him he better watch his back for the rest of his life. And he just looks at her and walk away. And she tells everybody in the waiting room, if you have Dr. Cruz, you need to fire him. He's a racist and he's killing black women and children. And basically, that's what we're finding out in these episodes that pass so far. But let's see how they play this out in the rest of season 9. So then Andy comes over with Dr. Cruz and he gives his condolences and he asks them if they want to see Karen. And they say yes. And he's telling them to, support each other and be there because sometimes it's hard to see a loved one like that. And they were like, we get it, And Danny's like, we know it wasn't your fault, So they went in there to see Karen. And Karen opens her eyes and says, where's my mama? And they said in the hallway with Aaron and Zach. And she's like, her stomach feel like it was burning. And at that point, Dr. Vaughn came in and he said he's going to have some Vicodin for her. And Danny's like, oh, can I get a couple of those? And he chuckled and looked at her like she was cuckoo crazy. Anyway, he told her that she gave birth to a healthy baby girl and that the other baby was stillborn. And how he hoped he had better news for her. He wished he had gotten to her sooner. And anyway, so he said, let me leave and give y'all some privacy. And he left. And Karen asked, where's Zach? Where's Aaron? She said, do we know which one? And Danny said, yes. And then it switched back to Zach saying how when, they opened up, they took out the baby, they heard the crying. And he was like, oh, great, they're both alive. But then they realized they only hear one baby crying. And Zach kept asking, what about the other one? What about the other one? And he said the doctor just kept looking at him like he knew he couldn't handle the truth. But at that point, they didn't know it was Zach's baby that didn't survive, at that point. And he did say finally the doctor said that they could run some tests. And he said him and Aaron were just looking at each other, thinking the same thing, which was, I hope it's not my baby girl. You know what I mean? And Zach was like, she didn't even have a chance. She's so perfect. She fit right here in my hands. Why did God do me like this? Why did God do me like this? I was like, wow. I mean, I know people say that to God all the time. I said it when I had cancer. People say it when they lose their children. Why did God take my child away? Why did He took my parent, my son, my this, my sister? You know what I mean? My loved one. It's just, oof, he was doing those tears. I was in here like a wreck. I'm telling you, I was almost just as much a wreck as Zach was. Anyway, and so now back to the Karen's hospital room where she's like, I'm supposed to be the mother of two. And Sabrina's like, you are the mother of two. Just one is in heaven and one is down the hall waiting to meet you. And they're like, she's going to need you. You have the baby. And then they asked her, did she want to see the baby? They said it was a good thing that she does it for closure, that Zach has already had his chance to hold the baby and see her. And so they brought the baby in for Karen to hold. And Karen said, she has my nose. And Danny said, and she has Zach's tank head. And they kind of chuckle a little bit, but not Karen. She was crying and stuff. So Andy asked her, did she have a name for the baby? And she looked at her and was holding her. And she said, Forever Taylor. Meaning she'll always be forever Zach Taylor's baby. And we all know that Karen always wanted to have a baby by Zach. Remember, she wrote it in that letter writing episode. She always wanted to have his child. So this was her one chance that she didn't get. I mean, who knows what might happen. There's always another chance. I'm just putting it out there. Not that it's going to happen, but it's always a chance. And so that's how it ended. Y'all let me know down in the comment section what y'all thought about this episode. I know we about 3 more episodes out, and I'm a bit delayed because I was on vacation, but I'm trying to catch up now. So y'all let me know what y'all thought about this episode, and I will see you all in the next video. Please do not forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share. It's your girl Barbie J saying peace.